Before we begin, you guys, I just want to say that I am posting this tribute video for Stan Lee instead of a tutorial video this time. So expect a new tutorial video on Monday and Tuesday instead. And also, there will not be a tutorial on how to draw Stan Lee because I feel like a tribute video would be a more respectful thing to leave behind for him. What is going on, drawittoo crew? Ramny here with a brand new, essentially a vlog video, and I just wanted to talk to you guys about what Stan Lee meant to me as a kid growing up. Now, when the news that he passed away came, it sort of hit me like a ton of bricks. It was a pretty devastating thing. I didn't realize how much this gentleman meant to me and my childhood. So it was 3 in the morning that he passed away, I believe. It was sometime in the morning because where I live, it's nighttime, and it's nighttime here when it's daytime in North America. So it was in the morning when he passed away here. So I found out when I woke up, which sort of put a bit of a damper on my day. I was pretty sad throughout that day. So anyway, Stan Lee. I knew since childhood because of this card right here, and I have this card again right here. This is the first time that I saw the name Stan Lee, and it said Mr. Marvel. So at first I thought he was some sort of person or some sort of superhero that is in the comics named Mr. Marvel, alias Stan Lee. Like Stan Lee was a secret identity until I read the back. In the back, it tells you that Stan Lee created virtually the entire Marvel universe, which is no exaggeration. He was a pioneer. And so with this one card right here, I got to know the man Stan Lee without ever really meeting him. So when I grew up in the Philippines, and how I learned how to speak English was reading comic books. And all throughout my life, I was just loved the imagination, the creativity behind characters like the Fantastic Four, like Spider-Man, the X-Men, Black Panther, Doctor Strange, the Hulk. All those characters I found really fascinating, and they were the characters that brought about like this lively imagination in my head. And a lot of that was from the mind of Stan Lee and his other co-creators. Stan Lee had a huge impact on just the comic book genre. He was one of the pioneers of the comic book genre. He's like way up there with Jack Kirby, Neil Adams, Stan Lee, tons of other people. Yeah, so he's way up there, if not the person at the very top. He is the hype man for Marvel Comics. I myself have been a Marvel person. Like, I read Marvel Comics mostly throughout my entire life. So I got to know a lot of the characteristics of the superheroes are a lot because of Stan Lee, and he was the one who sort of created the Marvel method, which I related to a lot more than, say, like the DC method of writing. And essentially, the way that Marvel writes characters, and you guys know this already probably, is that he writes superheroes with flaws. You know, Spider-Man was a teenager who was bullied, and he was broke all the time. The X-Men were persecuted. Iron Man had a drinking problem. Captain America was a person out of time. The Incredible Hulk had this Jekyll and Hyde kind of character. So the heroes that Stan Lee created were flawed characters, people that you can relate to more because they're just like you and me with just an extra superpower kind of thing. So he pioneered that compared to, say, the heroes in DC, where they seemed, at the time anyway, like back in the 50s, 40s, 60s, those like DC heroes were like invulnerable. Like, classic example is Superman, and how he's just kind of a boring character because he was just too powerful for his own good, So Stan Lee broke that mold. And what I really liked about Stan Lee's stories is that he also was a very, very forward-thinking person, and he spoke out against racism. He spoke out against bigotry, he spoke out against drugs, he spoke out against all of those things, all within like the genre of the comic book. And that was what was really cool about him. And I don't know, he left a huge legacy, one that we sort of enjoy now and one that we take for granted. I mean, look at all the toys that I have behind me. Like, a lot of that stuff is because Stan Lee. And if you guys see, I got a little Stan Lee drawing, or a Stan Lee little image right there, which I bought. I also drew this Stan Lee drawing right here. I did that a while back as well. So yeah, I just absolutely adore the guy. And I do want to show you guys this action figure I got of Stan Lee. This is Stan Lee in a Spider-Man costume, and I just absolutely adore this right here. It came in this box, and it's essentially Stan Lee ripping his shirt open to reveal the Spider-Man outfit costume underneath, and it's signed. He didn't sign it in person. It's signed Stan Lee, and it's a Stan Lee Marvel Legends action figure, and this is one of my most prized possessions. As you guys notice, I keep it in the box. I don't usually keep things in boxes. I mean, look at all the toys that I have out. This one I keep in the box because it is precious to me, and even more precious now because he passed away just recently. And you know, it was kind of inevitable. We all sort of knew that it was going to come soon, because he was getting older, he was getting more frail. In the past 2 years since his wife passed away, it's as if like his energy level and his enthusiasm, well, he was still pretty enthusiastic, but his energy level was just like waning, and he was just slowly deteriorating after his wife passed away. And yeah, he had a little bit of controversy like just before his passing, and all of that really didn't do anything to tarnish his image as like the person who sells like he sells Marvel heroes really well, and he's such a good salesman. He's a good writer. I think he's just one of those people who's just genuine, and I would have loved to meet him, to be honest, you guys. At a certain point I decided maybe it's not a good idea to meet Stan Lee anymore, seeing as how when you see him in a lot of these conventions, it's almost as if he's being wheeled around from convention to convention, and like conventions are exhausting. Like panels, staying to do signings and all that stuff is exhausting. So it almost feels like a human zoo at some point, where I decided, you know what, I would have loved to meet the guy, but at conventions I just didn't feel it was right. So yeah, I sort of gave up on it. But you know what they say anyway, never meet your heroes, right? So yeah, Stan Lee is one of my heroes. He also wrote a book called How to Draw Comics the Marvel Way, which was my Bible. I absolutely loved that book as a kid. I first saw it at the library, and I would borrow it for 2 weeks, and then when it was due I would give it back, and then I would take it out again, and I would just like keep it for weeks and weeks on end, because I absolutely love that book. And if you guys want to know what I'm talking about, I will link down below so you guys can check out the book, How to Draw Comics the Marvel Way. And a lot of those things I still apply to my drawings today. I mean, he co-wrote it, but yeah, with John Buscema. And yeah, it was my drawing Bible when I was a kid, and it still is my drawing Bible today. Yeah, I just a little bit sad to see Stan Lee go. A little bit sad to, you know, no longer see him in cameo in any of the Marvel movies. Those are always highlights, man. I just loved seeing Stan Lee in like all of these cameos. And you know, I think my favorite cameo was the Tony Stank one. I love that cameo, and I also like the cameo where he was talking like the Watcher's ear off in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. Those are my two favorite Stan Lee cameos, I think. Let me know in the comment section below what your favorite Stan Lee cameo as well. Anyway, I am going to miss him, and which is really weird to say because we never really met him, but his presence has always been like a positive throughout the Marvel Comics history. So this is like Marvel Comics without Stan Lee. I don't know, it's just not going to be the same. You know, there's never going to be another Stan Lee out there. So I'm a little bit saddened by that, but you know, that's just how life is. And this is a bit of a sad video, but you know, let's just go out there and watch all the movies of the characters that Stan Lee has created. That's like the best way to celebrate his life, I think, is to like enjoy the legacy, the characters that he created, all the history, and the stories that he made. Go out there and watch them, read them, and just read more about all these characters. I think that is the best way to honor Stan Lee. So you guys go ahead and do that. I'm sure I'm going to do that as well. Anyway, this is a bit of a sad video, but that's just how it is. Thank you guys for watching, and I'd love to hear your stories. Have you guys ever met Stan Lee? What does Stan Lee mean to you? And what is your favorite Stan Lee cameo? Again, you guys, in the comment section below. I'd love to know. Anyway, thank you guys for watching this video. This is just my, I guess you could say, my tribute video to Stan Lee. Anyway, Stan Lee, if you are watching, thank you so much for all the work that you did. Thank you so much for like all of the things that you made that just made my childhood richer and happier and more creative. I owe it all to you. Thank you so much. And to you guys, I will see you in the next video. Thank you.